Football is celebrated as the beautiful game. But what happens when its stars show their ugliest side? Poor sportsmanship can overshadow even the most thrilling examples. Remember Zidane's explosive headbutt in the 2006 World Cup final? Or Luis Suarez's shocking biting incidents? These moments are unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. But what are the most famous acts of poor sportsmanship in football history? From violent outbursts to blatant cheating, many incidents have left fans and players stunned. Many of the game's biggest stars resort to such behaviour, ruining their legacies and the sport's reputation. Join us as we look at instances of poor sportsmanship in football. The pressure to succeed, whether from the high stakes of professional sport, intense fan expectations, or personal ambition, can push athletes to bend or even break the rules. Fans and the media make this issue worse. Fans' intense passion can turn negative, with verbal abuse from the stands and even physical fights becoming disturbingly common. The media over-sensationalizes these incidents, potentially glorifying bad behaviour and making it seem more acceptable. This has had a particularly troubled impact on youth sports, where young athletes may copy the poor sportsmanship they see from their idols. So what are some examples of bad sportsmanship shown by football players? Zinedine Zidane is known as one of the best midfielders ever. His career was full of amazing moments and praise from everyone. But there's one incident that stands out for the wrong reasons. The headbutt in the 2006 World Cup final against Marco Materazzi. In a shocking moment, Zidane headbutted Materazzi in the chest. This act of poor sportsmanship got Zidane sent off in his last game ever as a footballer. His red card left France struggling, and they eventually lost the final to Italy. Zidane later said he didn't apologise because Materazzi had insulted his mother and sister. Even though he felt bad about what he did, he stood by his actions. While Zidane's reaction was wrong, Materazzi's taunts shouldn't be ignored either. This incident is one of the most famous examples of poor sportsmanship in football, showing how emotions can explode even in the biggest games. What happens when a football star takes his frustration out on a fan? Eric Cantona, one of Manchester United's most iconic players, shocked the world of football in 1995 with a moment of extremely poor sportsmanship. During a match against Crystal Palace, Cantona launched a kung fu kick at a fan who had been heckling him from the stands. This shocking act of aggression led to Cantona being suspended for 9 months, shattering his reputation and leaving a mark on his career. The incident remains one of the most infamous displays of poor sportsmanship in football history, showing how a single moment of anger can overshadow a player's achievements. How can racism taunt the beautiful game? Luis Suarez, known for his incredible talent, found himself in the middle of a storm in 2011. During a match between Liverpool and Manchester United, Suarez was accused of racially abusing Patrice Evra. The incident escalated quickly, with Suarez denying the allegations but eventually being found guilty. Suarez received an 8-match ban and a hefty fine, but the damage was done. The incident left a bitter taste and highlighted the ongoing issue of racism in football. Evra, deeply hurt by the abuse, spoke out about the need for stronger action against racism in sport. The clash remained one of the most significant examples of poor sportsmanship fueled by racial tension. What happens when a grudge builds up for years and explodes on the field? Roy Keane, Manchester United's fierce captain, had a long-running feud with Erling Haaland. It all started in 1997 when Keane injured himself while trying to foul Haaland, who then accused him of faking it. Keane's anger grew for 4 years until their big encounter in 2001. During a Manchester derby, Keane saw his chance for revenge. He delivered a brutal, career-threatening tackle on Haaland, hitting him high on the knee. Keane was immediately sent off, fined and banned for 5 matches. This shocking act of revenge not only ended Haaland's career at the top level, but also showed the darker side of football rivalries. Diego Maradona, one of football's greatest legends, created one of the most controversial moments in World Cup history during the 1986 tournament. In a high-stakes quarter-final match against England, with tensions running high and the world watching, Maradona made a move that would be talked about for decades. With the score tied at 0-0, Maradona leaped into the air in the 51st minute and instead of heading the ball, used his left hand to punch it past the England goalkeeper, Peter Shilton. The referee missing the blatant handball allowed the goal to stand. Maradona later famously dubbed it the Hand of God. The Hand of God remains one of the most infamous acts of poor sportsmanship in football. Maradona's admission that the goal was part divine intervention and part cunning play added to the controversy. You probably expected Luis Suarez to come up in any discussion about poor sportsmanship. Suarez, despite his incredible talent on the pitch, is infamous for biting opponents, not once, but 3 separate times. The most shocking incident occurred during the 2014 World Cup, a moment that stunned the world and left a permanent mark on his career. In a crucial group stage match between Uruguay and Italy, tensions were high as both teams fought for a place in the knockout rounds. With the score tied at 0-0 and the clock ticking down, Suarez suddenly leaned in and bit Italy's Giorgio Chiellini on the shoulder. The act was caught on camera, but not by the referees at the time. Chiellini showed the bite marks to the officials, but play continued. This was not the first time Suarez had bitten an opponent. His first biting incident happened in 2010 while playing for Ajax when he bit PSV's Otman Bakal. The second occurred in 2013 during a Premier League match where he bit Chelsea's Branislav Ivanovic. Each time, Suarez received bans, but none as severe as the one following the 2014 World Cup. FIFA acted swiftly after reviewing the footage, handing Suarez a 9-match international ban and a 4-month suspension from all football activities. This punishment was one of the harshest ever given in World Cup history, reflecting the gravity of his repeated offences. Suarez's actions not only hurt his reputation, but also brought embarrassment to his team and nation during one of the world's most watched sporting events. In football, there is an unspoken rule that if a player is injured and the opponents kick the ball out to allow for treatment, you return the ball to them once play resumes. Shakhtar Donetsk striker Luis Adriano either didn't know this rule or chose to ignore it entirely. During a Champions League match against Danish team Nordsjælland, Shakhtar's Willian kicked the ball towards the opposing goalkeeper after an injury stoppage, but Adriano intercepted the pass, rounded the goalkeeper, and calmly scored while the Nordsjælland defence stood still, expecting sportsmanship. UEFA reacted by banning Adriano for 1 match, citing violation of the principles of conduct. His actions were condemned not only by fans and opponents, but also by his own club. Fair play is very important in football, but sometimes players break the rules when the stakes are high. One of the most talked about moments of poor sportsmanship involves Thierry Henry and his clear handball during the 2010 World Cup qualifiers. In a crucial playoff match between France and Ireland, the teams were tied on aggregate, and the winner would go to the World Cup. During extra time, Henry got a cross in the penalty area. He used his hands to control the ball and then passed it to William Gallas, who scored the winning goal. The referees didn't see the handball, and the goal stood, sending France to the World Cup. The incident caused outrage among the Irish team, their fans and football fans everywhere. There were calls for the match to be replayed. They were denied. The controversy showed the flaws in officiating and pushed for the use of video technology in football. Henry admitted to the handball but didn't apologise, saying it was an instinctive reaction. This incident left a mark on his great career and remains one of the most infamous examples of poor sportsmanship in football. It not only unfairly knocked Ireland out of the World Cup, but also sparked a big conversation about fairness and ethics in the game. Luis Suarez is no stranger to controversy, and his handball during the 2010 World Cup quarter-final between Uruguay and Ghana is another notorious example of poor sportsmanship, similar to that of Thierry Henry. With the match tied in the final moments of extra time, Ghana was on the verge of scoring a winning goal, and the header from Dominic Adeyemi was destined for the net. But Suarez, standing on the goal line, deliberately used his hand to block the ball. The referee saw the blatant foul and immediately sent Suarez off with a red card, awarding Ghana a penalty. Asamoah Gyan, Ghana's star striker, stepped up to take the penalty but hit the crossbar, missing the chance to send his team to the semi-finals. The match went into a penalty shootout and Uruguay emerged victorious, knocking Ghana out of the tournament. Suarez's handball and subsequent celebration on the sideline drew widespread criticism. While his actions were within the rules of the game, they were seen as unsportsmanlike because he knowingly broke the rules to give his team a chance to win. Suarez later said he had no regrets, claiming it was a hand of God moment, similar to Maradona's infamous goal. Football's rich history is filled with thrilling victories and unforgettable moments, but also with instances of poor sportsmanship that tarnish the beauty of the game. From Zidane's headbutts to Suarez's biting and handball controversies, these incidents reveal how intense pressure and the desire to win can lead to unsporting behaviour. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.